play. This is the 14th time Pisgah has been in that situation. So all the data leans to Pisgah, who we thought had a chance to make a run. We thought they might be that team coming out of the North. They played twice, and Faultville does hold a two-game lead. The experts have Pisgah's a 23-point favorite coming in. We said Preston Lancaster coming into the game. Tuscaloosa Academy, 16-point. Tuscaloosa Academy scored 396 points on the year. They're averaging 36 points. Good receiver. A lot of times at the 2A level, you'll see one, maybe two. They put about 5 guys on the field that you're going to have to, and the quarterback's really smart. They run a lot of RPOs, progression read, and you're looking at Susan Moore, who really overachieved, really had a good season. They're averaging 23 points per game, but they're giving up 31.7. So, looking at the that's thusly the spread is what it is. Tuscaloosa Academy, it's only their 7th time that they have been in a second round game. All right, moving on. Vincent, my buddy Coach Weatherford, goes to Winston County, played one of the toughest schedules anywhere. Coming in, Winston County is a 9-point favorite. And why are they a 9-point favorite? They're 11-0. All right, averaging 43.7 points per game, only giving up a 9.6. But how did the Yellow Jackets get here? Let's look at their schedule and some of the people that they play. Started with Winterboro, beat Comer, who's been pretty strong of late, wasn't as good a team. Lamar County, Sulligent's having a really good team. Went up in class, Childersburg, played Tuscaloosa Academy. So they have played Isabella, so they've really played a really strong schedule to get there. I do think they have a chance, but some things are going to have to fall their way, especially on the road. And I do think for 18-year-olds, 17, 18-year-olds, home field is a really huge thing. I just really think and especially you get the huge crowds this time of year. Vincent has never won a second round game. They've never been to the advance to the quarterfinals. So big hurdle, big obstacle. Let's see if they can do it. All right, moving on to Southeastern. Southeastern had been really strong the last couple of years, had a slow start, lost their first 3 games, lost to Glencoe, lost to Vinemont, lost to Coosa Christian, and people had kind of given them up for dead. Here they are. They advanced to the second round, and they're playing Sulligent. Sulligent's only a 7-point favorite. Southeastern got there, beat Red Bay 47-0. So they're peaking at the right time. They're 9-2 via the forfeit. Sulligent beat Pleasant Valley 56-22, one of our local teams, and comes in with a 7-4 record. Sulligent averages 29.8 a game and gives up 23. All right, it's not a lot of points. Southeastern 25.9 a game and gives up 16.4. Could be looking at a low-scoring game there. Southeastern may have a chance here, and they've qualified for. You're talking about a newer school. This is only the 3rd time they've ever been in the second round, but they've had a pretty good history in the last couple years. All right, one more Northern. No, that is all my Northern, isn't it? All right, that's my 4 North Alabama games.
Chandler, we got about 4 minutes till we go to break. You want to dive back into? You want to dive into some 7A?
We can dive into 7A.
Let's do that.
Let's look at 7A real quick. When we're talking about 7A. Actually, y'all want to take a break? On our Facebook Live on Average Joe's, we're having some issues. So
yeah, well,
let's take a quick break and then we'll be back.
Come out and check out the Alabama Tractor Difference. We can take care of all your needs of parts, sales, and service for RTVs, zero turns, and tractors and construction equipment. See us here in Lincoln at 620 Speedway Industrial Drive. Or come visit us here in Asheville at 275 6th Avenue, or give us a call at 205-594-7000.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eli Gold, and I want to invite you to tune in to Jack State Live, a look at the campus and athletic department at Jack State, followed by the Coach Rich Rod Show, where we will break down and preview the next football game for the Gamecocks.
I want to live. The leading cause of death of young Americans like me is gun violence, and oftentimes tied to substance misuse. NBA, NFL, NCAA, most of you look like me, and our communities need you now more than ever. Let's make I Want to Live more than just a hashtag. Let's make it a movement. I am a baller against bullets.
Penguins Bar and Grill. Come down for our amazing bar, stocked with everything you could want, and our amazing food, ranging from whole pizzas all the way to oysters. Our food is cooked fresh and brought to you with amazing service. For the best food and drinks, come to Penguins Bar and Grill.
Hello, my name is Bob Couch, and I'm the owner of Couch's Jewelers. We are your destination for engagement rings, wedding bands, and anniversary and birthday gifts. We offer a wide selection of the best value diamond jewelry and engagement rings. We even gift wrap every purchase for free. And if you have some jewelry that is broken, no worries. Expert jewelry service is offered in-house. At Couch's Jewelers, our customer service is unmatched. If you'd like a special jewelry item created just for you, please come to see us.
All right, everybody, we are back, and I think, did we get our technical difficulties?
We got them fixed.
All right. We're going to talk a little 7A football here, and I'm going to kick this thing off with a very, very, very big football game right here. We're talking about Thompson versus Auburn.
In the second round?
Yeah, which is beautiful, and I really do enjoy the way that they've changed 7A up because it got really boring. You know that Central Phoenix City Auburn region winner would face the winner of 7A Region 3 every single year.
Yeah, it got real intriguing now in the second round when you talk about having an Auburn-Thompson matchup, and this is an Auburn team and a Thompson team that absolutely destroyed their first-round matchups, with Auburn defeating Bob Jones by a score of 63-27 and Thompson beating Daphne 50-0. This is a game that you would be accustomed to seeing only in the state championship game, but now the way they've changed it up, you get a possibility to get this game in the second round. Auburn, obviously, everybody in this area is familiar with Keith Etheridge and Will Wagnon. They do an outstanding job down there, and have been dominant all year long, essentially. Probably one of the better teams in the entire state. And then Thompson lost a couple of games in the regular season, but with Coach Mark Freeman, when they get playoff time, they start rolling.
I'm going to say some things right here, and you both may think I'm crazy, but I really, truly believe what I'm about to tell you. I think Mark Freeman was not at all disappointed when he lost to Hoover. Mm-mm. And because he knew that this second seed, the way it lined up, they had this one huge hurdle. Eventually, you're going to have to beat Auburn either way if you're going to win it. All right? But they knew if they had this one huge hurdle, and we'll talk about some other stuff off the camera of another reason why I think he didn't mind losing to Hoover earlier this year. Not saying it on the camera, but it'll make sense to you once I tell you off the camera. Now, when you break this particular game down, though, Will Wagnon, as he pre-mentioned, is doing a fantastic job as offensive coordinator there at Auburn. They've played 10 games. They've put up 471 points in 10 games. That's 47 points per game in 7A football. Now, here's the X factor. When you talk about being a good schedule, if your opponent's record is around the 500 range, then you've had a really good schedule because you're going to play some ups and downs. You're going to play some cupcakes, whatever. Thompson's opponent record is 55-40. 55-40 is Thompson's opponent's record this year. Now think about that for a second, how battle tested they are. But through all that, they're still averaging 32.6 points per game and allowing 13.2. So they're still playing really good defense and putting up points. They've sputtered at times. They're not explosive at receiver as they have been. They've had to move New Boy over to play some receiver for them. Some they had to out of necessity. Auburn pretty much is on fire offensively.
Listen to these numbers from Auburn's opening round win against Bob Jones. Omar Mapson had 189 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns on only 11 carries. Kilgore, Jackson Kilgore, the quarterback, threw for 354 yards, 4 touchdowns, and was 13 for 13. So you talk about a perfect QBR rating.
That's efficiency.
And so Joshua Askew racked up 102 yards of receiving yards. They outrushed Bob Jones 283 to 84. Now, when you talk about Thompson, sophomore Trent Seaborn has thrown for almost 2,000 yards, now over 2,000 yards, 18 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions. Michael Deshawn has rushed for 782 yards on just 92 carries with 11 rushing touchdowns. R.J. Evans has 488 yards with 5 touchdowns. And then on defense, you get Mr. Anquan Fagans, New Boy, who has 4 interceptions on the season. So playmakers on both sides of the football in this ball game.
Before we shut this one down, another key factor right here. In these second rounds, Thompson has kicked it up to another gear. They are 10-2 in playoffs in these second round matchups. What do you think about that, Beckett?
It's pretty strong. That is
Pretty strong.
Heck of a second round matchup.
Next game, let's go Baker Enterprise.
When you look at Baker and Enterprise won their first round game in an upset over Austin, 32-21, and Baker beat Hewitt Trustful by a score of 17-14 in a really good football game. And so Baker Enterprise, that's the thing about Enterprise, is Enterprise had to go on the road in the first round, and they have a team that could go and win the state championship coming from a 3 seed and having to travel in the first round. I've actually heard that Enterprise actually wanted to be on this side of the bracket so that they could miss out on Auburn or Thompson in the first round. So when you look at that side of the bracket, Enterprise is set up to make a run.
The problem is you got Central Phoenix City on that other side of the bracket.
Well, the thing about it is in Enterprise, though, they're going to be in the semifinals if they just take care of business the way they're supposed to. Whereas they would have had to play a Central Phoenix City or a Hoover in the second round.
Game, Beckett?
It is 2-point. Baker.
Baker favored by 2.
Baker's favored by 2. You look at Baker's defense; they're only giving up 12.9 a game. So there's your defense in the playoff, theory. But Enterprise really, really good.
But when you look at
Enterprise is 2-0 all time.
Enterprise is really, really good. And when you look at it, what I want to look at real quick before we move on is who have these two teams played in the regular season. And Baker was in the region. They're the region champs. They're the region champs. They've lost 2 games all year, whereas Enterprise is in that terrible region that they're in Region 2. Baker's in Region 1. They finished the 2 seed they finished the 2 seed to Mary G. Montgomery, and we saw what happened to Mary Montgomery last week. So I think numbers could be skewed right there, and there could be a lot of people that missed that line.
Listen to this. Their opponent's record, Baker's is 67-48. Enterprise's is 64-39.
So both of them played really good teams. There's good teams down there. But I think if we all, from top to bottom, I think we can all agree that 7A Region 2 is the toughest region in the state, with Auburn, with Opelika, with Enterprise, all those teams in it.
Let's talk a little Vestavia Hills versus Central Phoenix City. What a matchup this is in the second round.
Well, what about Vestavia Hills? When you talk about Vestavia going on the road and doubling up the region champs, Mary Montgomery, 42-21, and then Central Phoenix City beat James Clemens by a score of 70-14. I think Central Phoenix City and Auburn both thought it was time to break out the basketballs because they put up basketball numbers offensively. We know Coach Nix, Central Phoenix City, we know they're going to be talented every year. We know they're going to have a chance to win it every year. But Vestavia has kind of come out of nowhere, and Vestavia is still that same Vestavia that plays a ridiculous record. You just showed me something. Tell me what Vestavia's opponent's record is on the year.
75-39.
You think they played a tough schedule?
Yeah.
And so Vestavia is definitely battle tested, and they went and beat a very good Mary Montgomery team that only lost by 7 last year in the semifinals to a Central Phoenix City team that we know how good they were. So, I honestly believe that this game could be a lot closer than what the expert. What's the line on that?
It's
one?
4-point Central, and Central's got the machine. Pat Nix, they've been there, done that, and they know how to maneuver the playoffs. It's just really interesting to see Vestavia back. I think it's really good for high school football to see them back and come out of that region. And they went through a number of years. They were just sitting there in the ringer with Trottsville, with Hoover, with Thompson, and here they are. Man, they're kind of back on the scene. Really impressive year for them.
Hey, and
I got a question.
They've only met one time, and Vestavia won that matchup. So
Does
that's
it
interesting.
look weird for y'all seeing Vestavia in like some new school age jerseys though?
Yeah, it kind of does.
Yeah.
Like that would have not happened under Buddy Anderson. That was not going to happen.
It's weird not seeing them in the eye and in the 60s unis, and yeah. Very much so.
Like they were still wearing the uniforms that were not even
That's right.
didn't have the elastic at the bottom, didn't fit tight. Now they're in these new school. Like I like it. Looks good. It's a clean look. It's a very clean look.
Next one's going to be Opelika versus Hoover, the Hoover Bucks.
What's the line in this one?
There's 3. Hoover's favored 3.
Well, I've talked to some people, and people think that Hoover is the most talented team from top to bottom in Class 7A. And we saw them get a big win over Thompson earlier in the year, went through a lot of turmoil before the season started, but they've been rolling. Took care of business last week against a pretty good Fairhope team, 35-10. Opelika took care of business against Florence last week, 43-7. And so this is a matchup. I think out of all the matchups, and I know this is that I think. There's in the semifinal or in the second round here, you get an Auburn-Thompson matchup, which everybody's looking forward to. But in my opinion, the Hoover-Opelika matchup is probably the most anticipated matchup for me because I think those are 2 really, really good football teams that match up well.
X Factor. Breaking news: Brian Moore, head coach of Opelika, is going to be suspended for this football game as well. Our good friend Simone broke that story, so we seen that earlier. So that's an interesting factor coming into that game.
Yeah, and
anytime you lose your head coach when you're playing a game that's a 3-point line,
will they lose their head
playoffs.
coach, or they don't lose their head coach, will they?
They lose their head coach.
Yeah, Brian Moore. Yeah, he's out.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. So ain't that interesting?
Yeah, that was interesting to come out.
Anytime you lose your head coach going into a playoff game of this magnitude, that's a big deal.
I remember when we went to 7 classes, and the Opelika coaches were really excited about it because they started out 6A, and here they are. They've grown. They're back into 7A. Hoover, hats off to their staff for what they've done to hold the ship together. I didn't think. I thought they would have a miserable year, just to be honest. So hats off. Great job by the staff.
Yeah, you don't see that very much, but we've seen that twice this year already. We've seen examples of 2 coaches having to sit out a game, being suspended for a game because of something that happened the week before. So that's wild.
Got a little factor for you right here. At home in the second round, the Hoover Bucks all time. Guess what their record is?
It's pretty darn good.
Read that, Beckett.
12-2.
No.
Oh, okay. 17-0. Woo!
Second round playoffs at home. They
never
are
lost.
17-0. Ain't that interesting?
Yes.
Now
yeah.
let's get back into our normal breakdown.
All right, let's finish out Class 6A. Let's go 6A North. First game, Oxford, undefeated Oxford versus Hartselle. And I think the picture of the scoreboard from last year when these 2 teams faced, where Oxford had a lead and gave it up late, is all that they're going to need to get up. Hartselle last week, 64-7. This is a Hartselle team that comes in averaging 38.1 points. The Yellow Jackets, they're definitely going to get tested this week in the second round. Oxford comes in averaging 36.5, and the defense is only giving up 13.9. I think also when you look at strength of schedule, I think it definitely benefits the Yellow Jackets. Hartsville's opponents' records are 0 to Pell City, 10 to Clay Chalkville, 0 to Huffman, 10 to Florence, and 0 to Buckhorn. So that defense is playing more accustomed to what Chad Cochran is used to seeing and what he's put out. He, in my opinion, and I work for him, I think he's one of the better defensive coaches in the entire state, and I think his numbers match that. So that's going to be a really tough matchup. I think Hartsville.
He gives great speeches too.
Yeah, he does. I think Hartsville really will give the Yellow Jackets all they want, but it's at Lamar Field, and so I like that matchup. I think it's going to be an intriguing matchup, and I think it's going to be an electric atmosphere at Lamar Field. Fort Payne, and Homewood. Fort Payne was down 17-0 last week. 17-0, and a reason for their coming back was a young man named Carter Blaylock. He had 22 rushes for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. Down 17-0. A lot of teams would crumble down 17, folded up, but that says a lot about Coach Elmore and what Fort Payne is made of. But they get a Homewood team that had and this was a matchup that I know they were the higher seed last week, but a lot of people thought that Athens was going to go in and beat Homewood last week. Homewood found a way to win 31-24, and with that, the Patriots are 9-2 on the year. The Wildcats are 9-2 on the year, and the Wildcats from Fort Payne, what people don't realize, they lost their first 2 ball games of the year to a really good Scottsboro team and a really good Gunnersville team, and they've reeled off 9 straight. They're as hot as anybody in the state. They're averaging 31.5 points a game. But listen to this, Homewood averaging 34 points a game, only giving up 13, a team that plays really good defense and really good offense. I think Homewood is probably, do you know the line on that right there? Could you tell me the line on that? Homewood and...
I'll have it for you here in just a second.
I've got it somewhere. I don't feel like looking at it right now. But
all right, Homewood is a 11-point
11-point favorite. I guarantee you that's being hung up everywhere that you can hang it up in Fort Payne. They've only met one time before on the field. Homewood holds a 1-0 edge in games played. Like I said, by the numbers, 34 points averaged a game for Homewood, 31.5 for Fort Payne, 16.3 defensive average for Fort Payne, 13 defensive average for Homewood. Opponents record 55-61 for Homewood, 51-65 for Fort Payne. I think Fort Payne is a team that everybody's overlooking, and Homewood is going to be a very difficult matchup for them. But if anybody can do what people think can't be done, I think it's a Fort Payne team. I think they're going to have momentum. After last week, I think Pell City's playing a lot better than they played all year coming into the playoffs. And I think the momentum could give Fort Payne a chance to win. And also, since Fort Payne is on the top side of the bracket, they will host this game. Next game, Parker and Mountain Brook, a rematch from the regular season. These two teams saw each other in the regular season. And you want to talk about talented in Class 6A. I don't think you could say anybody is any more talented than Mountain Brook. It all starts with Naheem Alford. He's worth the price of admission by himself. The Ohio State commit, I think he's a guy that is unbelievable. But these two teams, like I said, they met in the regular season, and Parker was able to win that game 30-16. But that was a game that Mountain Brook was actually ahead for some of the ball games. So Mountain Brook should have some confidence going into that game. They should also have some confidence when you look at what they were able to do last week. Their quarterback, Hofbar, was 11 for 16. How you say that? Hofbar?
Something like that.
Hofbar, 11 for 16, 219 yards, and 6 touchdowns, with 3 of them going to Archie Andrews, who ended up with 6 receptions for 125 yards. So this is a team that should have a lot of confidence. Mountain Brook comes in the ballgame 8-3.
Like I said, I got to show you something.
Parker 10-1, but their only loss is to Carrollton, Georgia, and we're talking about a Carrollton, Georgia that's unbelievable. So when you look at them, Mountain Brook's always going to do things the right way. They're always going to be ready. All time in the second round, Mountain Brook is 8-1 at home in the second round. Parker's 1-5. So also we want to give
read that.
Coach Chris Yeager rocking the Average Joe shirt.
There you go.
Very pumped about that.
Yes, sir.
Anytime we can put anybody with his stature on there, like I said, unbelievable head coach. But when you talk about offensive line play, which is why they're always there when it matters, is because they're going to do the little things right. This is set to be a really good matchup, and Coach Warren does an absolute phenomenal job at Parker. Coach Yeager does an unbelievable job at Mountain Brook. This is going to be a matchup that I am anticipating to see how it works out. Muscle Shoals and Clay Chalkville. This is another, I want you to listen to this right here. Muscle Shoals, #1 offense in Class 6A, averaging 43.3 points a ball game. Clay Chalkville, suffocating defense with a 33-3 victory over Gadsden City last week. Listen, and I know Gadsden City kind of stumbled down the end of the year,
But they were healthy. They were healthy last week.
this
They
is
had everybody
still
back.
a Gadsden City team that has a man named TJ Worthy, and we all three sitting at this table know how good that young man is. For them to hold them to 3 points and to be as suffocating as they was, something's got to give this week. When you got the #1 offense in the state going against one of the top defenses in the state, something's got to give. The game is at Muscle Shoals. Muscle Shoals is 4-1 all time in the second round at home, but Clay Chalkville 5-2 on the road all time in the second round. They've met 2 other times. Clay Chalkville has a 2-0 edge in those games. By the numbers, Clay Chalkville 36.2 points per game. Muscle Shoals, I just said it, 43.3 points per game. Defensively, I just talked about it. Clay Chalkville barely giving up more than 10 points a game, whereas Muscle Shoals is giving up 23.4 points a game. Clay Chalkville's opponent, 64-51 record. Muscle Shoals opponent 54-52. This is going to be a great ball game. Really good offenses, really good defense on Clay Chalkville. Something's got to give. Can Clay Chalkville slow down this potent attack from Muscle Shoals? I'm ready to see it. I think that does me for the 6A North. I'm turning it over to one of y'all.
All right, I'm gonna do 1A South now. These are some teams that will be vying for a trip to Progressive Stadium to take on the North champion. We're going to kick this one off with McKenzie versus Millery. Interesting football game here for a couple of reasons. The first one is McKenzie sitting here at 10-1 on the season. They've looked really dominant. They're averaging 47.5 points per game. They're only allowing 21.3 points per game. These two teams have met twice, and they've split. No, they've met 4 times, and they've split 2 games apiece. You know, Millery, I got to reading through the numbers. I found out something very interesting on Millery. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
What does Millery and Ace Austin have in common? Does either one of you guys know?
I'm guessing she scored a lot of points against them.
Millery, how you bring up Ace Austin and Millery football, this is how you do it. They both recently defeated University Charter School. Ace did it and captured her 5th ring as a student athlete. Her 2nd in volleyball. She's got 3 in basketball. University of Charter School got defeated by Millery in football in the first round of playoffs last week, 34-6. So, who would have thought? I did, but you know, I seen you don't always see the name University Charter School pop up.
You're right.
And when I seen that, the first thing I thought of was, hey man, you know, Spring Garden just defeated them and
Pulled that out of left field. I don't know.
But it makes
that might
sense.
be out of the park.
Makes sense.
I like it. I like
right?
it. I like it.
Now, again, you know, we talk about teams being battle tested. This Millery team's they're 7-4 on the season, but their opponent's record is 60-55, so they've definitely been battle tested. They're averaging 38.5 points per game. They're only allowing 11.4. 7-4 is not bad considering who they played. You know, they played some really good teams down there, and I really look for this one to be a good matchup. You know, McKenzie obviously is favored by 6 points in this game. These two teams are 2-2 all time versus one another, so I look for a really good game in that one right there. Next one, guys. I'm about to throw y'all some numbers out here that is going to absolutely blow your minds. Are y'all ready for this?
Ready.
Sweetwater. We all know Sweetwater as an 11-time state champion. They're a 28-time region champion.
That Sweetwater on the fence. The only thing they put up is signs.
That's right.
State championships.
That's it.
The ads are at the gate. Nothing touches the field but state championships.
State championships.
They got a lot of them, guys.
And it's just state championships, correct? No,
Just state championships.
They don't worry about region.
No, we don't do first round playoffs. We do state championships.
I want to know if y'all can tell me two teams that has been more equally matched than these two. Listen to these numbers. Both teams are 9-2 on the season. Sweetwater scored 409 points. Maplesville scored 416. Scoring average, Sweetwater 37.2, Maplesville 37.8. Points allowed, Sweetwater 155, Maplesville 164. Defensive average 14.1, Sweetwater 14.9, Maplesville. Opponents' records, Sweetwater 53 and 61, Maplesville 54 and 61.
So you're telling me we got two mirror images of each other?
Two mirror images. The thing that jumps out to me, though, is this. Why is this a 9-point game?
Sweetwater's favored by 9, or Maplesville's favored?
Maplesville is favored 9. Now, normally I would sit here and say, argue or whatever. Then I got to looking at the two losses. One loss from Sweetwater was Thomasville. They got beat pretty good, 48-6, opening the season. And then they lost 27-20 to Leroy. You don't hold your head now about a Leroy loss.
No.
The two losses for Maplesville is Alabama Christian. They lost 32-29 in that game. And then they lost to Hopeville 35-7. I think that is a wild line.
I do too. But
two
looking for
teams.
what you looked at, when you look at the stuff and
Have y'all ever seen anything like that? Y'all want the cherry on top?
well,
These two teams have met 14 times. What do you think the record
Oh, it's
is?
7-7. 100%. Absolutely.
Bingo.
crazy. That's
Now,
the craziest.
Is that not insane?
That's crazy. That's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Two monster
Look at that.
powerhouses.
Look through that. Isn't that crazy?
That's the
All
craziest thing I've
we'll
ever
go
seen.
on to the next one. And we're talking about Leroy versus Georgiana. This is a 1-point line on this game. These are two powerhouse teams. Here's another thing that's weird about this one. It's a 1-point line in favor of Georgiana.
Hold on.
Is that correct? Look that up.
I'm going to look that up.
Look that up.
But Georgiana's a 1-point favorite.
Okay, they're 7-4 and they're a 1-point favorite over Leroy. Is there injuries or something we don't know about? Because Leroy defending back-to-back champs.
Georgiana coming into it though, man. Coming into the year, I felt like that they had a chance to be really good, but I don't know about 1-point favorites over the Stennis State.
They beat
champs.
Autauga County 40-32 last week. Leroy beat Pickens Academy 43-20. Here's something interesting about this. I don't care what the computer says or whoever says. I'm going to look at Leroy like what Ric Flair said to Georgia Championship Wrestling in the 80s.
Okay.
To be the man, you got to do what?
You got to beat the man.
You got to beat them. What did Rudy Tomjanovich say about the 90s Rockets? Never underestimate the heart of a champion.
Yep.
To beat this Leroy team, and I seen it with my own two eyes. I'm telling you guys this. I watched Coosa Christian go up on them 14-0, and it looked like it was about to be a rout. You have literally got to kill these guys to get them out of these playoffs.
I think that it's based off common opponent, which is Sweetwater, and Georgiana beat Sweetwater 57-34, and Leroy beat them. Hold on now. Georgiana lost to Sweetwater 57-34, and Leroy beat Sweetwater by a score of 27-20. So something is bad.
That's what I'm saying.
Something's
But
off.
do you not think this is plastered? Dude, Leroy probably bought a billboard in their own town and posted that.
You're probably right.
I would, wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. There's not a household in Leroy that wouldn't have that plastered. I'd have that everywhere.
And the only loss Leroy has is to Thomasville, and we've
Yeah.
seen how good Thomasville was this year.
That's exactly right. We're going to move on to the next one. I don't know about that one. That's an interesting game. And again, Ric Flair and Rudy Tomjanovich game is what I'm going to call that one. All right. The next one, we're going to talk about Elba versus Linden. Linden's no stranger to deep playoff runs. They're 8-2 on the season. They're averaging 37.6 points per game. They're only allowing 9.4 points per game. Their opponent records, though, is 34-58, so they're not near as battle-tested as what you're about to hear from Elba. Elba on the year is averaging 53.7 points per game. Their Achilles heel is they're giving up 30.9 points per game. But their opponent's record is 67-48. And in 1A football, that is incredible. They did lose back-to-back games this year to Glenwood School and McKenzie. They lost to McKenzie 80 to 78 earlier this year. I did say that correctly. You scored 78 points and you lost if you're Elba. Now, before I get out of this game, I'm going to talk about Alvin Henderson for a second. I'm going to run these stats by you, and what I'm seeing here is pretty incredible. Alvin Henderson this season has rushed the ball 211 times. He's got 2,866 yards. He's averaging 13.6 yards per touch, and he has 51 touchdowns on the ground.
That's with everybody loading the line and keying him.
Yep. Everybody's keying him every snap, and he's still averaging 13.6 yards a rush.
All-time record.
Now, Elba's a 3-point favorite in this. Here's how Linden counters that, though. 5 out of their last 8 games have been shutouts. So they are playing really good defensively down the stretch, and they're giving up less than 10 points a game. So all 11 of their guys is going to be keying the Auburn commit Alvin Henderson across the board. That one will be an interesting football game,
Listen,
I do believe.
I've been to Linden. Linden's good football. It's
Yeah.
really good football. They're physical and they get after it.
I agree with you 100%. Go ahead, Beckett.
So, hey,
let me ask y'all this. Whose record did Alvin Henderson break?
that was a great question. Do you know the answer? Who?
Matt Campbell of Alexandria
Yeah.
since 1997.
Mac has more than one record, and one of them went
had
down.
the touchdown record for the nation for a while, didn't he? And then it got broke by Derrick Henry broke it. Somebody
I
else.
think you're right.
That is a ridiculous stat. Hey, let's go 2A South. Providence Christian goes and plays Highland home. Providence Christian coming in. They're 9-2. Had a great year. They're coming off a 53-point outing. Scored 53 a week ago against Horseshoe Bend. You're feeling really good. Craig Pittman threw for 225, 3 touchdowns. Tyler Sharp went over 100 again and 3 touchdowns. But you have to go the number 1 power ranked team in the Highland home Flying Squadron. Number 1, that is your number 1 mascot. That's just hands down.
The Flying
It's over
Squadron?
right-
I agree.
Flying Squadron.
Pretty cool.
It's over right now. Defensively, C.J. May, Caleb Falk, they had 6 sacks. Defensively is where they hang their hat, and that's why they're a 24-point favorite. Come in averaging 48.2 a game, giving up only 4.7. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And Providence scores 34.9. Are they going to be able to cut into that? Are they going to be the first team that because, I mean, you're looking at one team in Goshen has scored double digits. Everybody else 9, 0, 0, 0, 6, 0, 8, 0, 8, 0. That is a ridiculous number for Highland home. We'll see if they stay hot and keep going. Moving on, Clark County, Ayrton. Clark County's another team that we talked about preseason. I was talking about everybody thought had a chance. They're a 9-point favorite against Ayrton. They had a 201-yard rushing game last week, beat Zion Chapel 41-12, come in with an 8-3 record, averaging 29.8 points per game, and they have give up 15.2. They are 4-1 at home, which is home field. We talked about that earlier. Ayrton beat Lochapoka 14-7 last week, and they come in at 6-5. Very much of the underdog, uphill, as they have only scored 26.4 points per game. Gonna be a tough one there. Reeltown, you want to talk about? They're 7th in the state in offense. You want to talk about a perennial power.
Matt Johnson.
Second in the state in defense, only giving up 6.5 points a game. They're playing Laverne. Laverne knows a lot about football themselves, but Laverne this year is 6-5 and only 2-4 at home. Laverne scores 23.1 points per game, and Reeltown is, again, defense. Defense is where it's at. Jamarcus Smith passed for 217 yards on only 12 passes last week, 4 touchdowns. Traylon Roberts had 90 yards rushing. Reeltown, and that is why they're a 32 point, and I think that is the top on the boards, 32-point favorite.
32-point favorite.
Yeah, that is a lot.
Jeez.
Reeltown has been in the second round 29 times. So you talk about a group of people there that expect to win. And tradition doesn't play, but tradition shapes the minds of those who do play, so that's what makes it important. Next game, Goshen and Cottonwood. Goshen is ranked 8th in the Power Poll. Cottonwood is ranked 4th. So you're dealing with, there's your top 10 game. Jaden McNabb leads things with Goshen, very physical offense, and they're 8-2 coming in. On the other side, Cottonwood, they were one of the favorites coming into the season, 11-0. Score 47.6 a game, only give up 9.8. All right, they win a perfect, of course, 7-0 in their region. So that one is going to be Cottonwood is a 13-point favorite, and that completes 2A, and 2A South is pretty strong as always.
Let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Discover why Hungry Hut Barbecue has been Etowah County's go-to for mouth-watering barbecue for 40 years. If you're not in the mood for barbecue, try our very popular chicken finger plate with fried green tomatoes of our famous fried pickles. And don't forget about our drive-thru. Come down to Hungry Hut's Barbecue today.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eli Gold, and I want to invite you to tune in to Jack State Live, a look at the campus and athletic department at Jack State, followed by the Coach Rich Rod Show, where we will break down and preview the next football game for the Gamecocks.
At Southern States Bank, we pride ourselves on being your bank. We're your neighbors and involved in the community. We're the bank featuring the Southern Rewards checking account, a cashback account with no ATM fees. We are on the cutting edge and always have a smiling face to help you out. So come to Southern States Bank, where we are committed to great service and being a great neighbor. Let us be the bank for you and your business.
I'm Alan Parnell with Parnell Insurance Agency. We've been here in Oxford and Alabama, Tallapoosa, Georgia since 1990. With Auto Owners Insurance, we're able to give customers competitive pricing along with excellent coverages. Parnell Insurance can handle all of your personal, commercial, and life insurance needs. We have a very experienced staff, both personal and commercial. All together, we've got about 125 years experience. Come see what our insurance agency can do for you in Oxford, Alabama, and Tallapoosa, Georgia.
Auto Owners Insurance.
Serving Calhoun County and the state of Alabama since 1994. Locally owned and operated, offering some of the most competitive interest rates in the mortgage industry, along with a wide variety of mortgage products. We are with you throughout the home buying process, offering you service before and after the close. Fast, reliable, local.
And you remember, if you need a home loan, call my daddy.
All right, everybody, welcome back into Road to the Blue Map. We've got a little bit under an hour now, and we still have what have we got left here? 4A.
4A.
I've still got 5A. This gentleman has 3A, so we're going to kick it in gear. Take us away.
All right, I'll start in Class 4A. Looking at the South first. First matchup we're going to look at is Fairfield at W.S. Neal. I still have nightmares about W.S. Neal. My last year at Mumford as the defensive coordinator, we were 9-1 region champs, hosted W.S. Neal, and they beat us. And we're talking about a W.S. Neal team that finished the year 5-5 and was able to win a first-round playoff game last week against a really good St. James team, 16-6. And then we're talking about a Fairfield team that beat Dale County last week, 33-21. W.S. Neal is coached by Coach Hugh Fountain, plenty of experience there. And then Fairfield is coached by Shepard Skanes. So when you look at them, Fairfield comes to the game 8-3 record, averaging 30.2 points a game. And WS Neal comes in, like I said, a 5-6 record, but they're still averaging 28 points a ball game. WS Neal is one of those scary teams that always figures it out when it gets playoff time, if they make the playoffs. And so, like I said, 30.2 scoring average for Fairfield, 28 points for WS Neal. Defensively, both of these teams struggle. Fairfield gives up 24.5 points a game. WS Neal 29.6. Opponents record 51-61 for Fairfield, 58-37 opponents record for WS Neal, which explains why they struggled so much coming into the playoffs. So, can WS Neal pull off another upset? This game will be at WS Neal. Can they win another one and make it to the quarterfinals after finishing the season 5-5 and losing their first 4 ball games on the season?
That's crazy.
They lost their first 4 ball games to Excel, St. Michael, Orange Beach, and Mariana, Florida, and then went on to win 4 out of their last 5 ball games, 4 out of their last 6 ball games, 5 out of their last 6. So big time turnaround for WS Neal there. Next game I want to look at, Pleasant Grove and St. Michael. If you like offensive football, this is the game for you. St. Michael is coached by NFL legend and Athens legend Phillip Rivers, and Pleasant Grove coached by used to be one of my co-workers, one of my buddies, Daryl LeBeau, no stranger, putting offensive numbers up. When you look at these two teams' numbers, the Spartans' offense of Pleasant Grove averaging 44.6 points a game and only giving up 11.3. The Cardinals' offense of St. Michael averaging 39.1 points a game, and we just saw them put up 63 over Handley, which broke a team record for playoff points scored. 63-40, they beat Handley, and
seem to be
Pleasant
picking
Grove,
at the right time.
61-21 over Strawn. So this is two teams that put up over 60 going against each other in the second round. So get your popcorn ready, and fireworks should go off there. If you need to know one name from Pleasant Grove, Tremel Washington plays receiver, plays DB, does a whole lot in the return game. He is a guy that can score in different ways for them, an absolute playmaker for Pleasant Grove. I'm excited to see what happens in that ball game. Bibb County at Jackson. Bibb County comes into the ball game 8-3. Jackson comes in at 10-1. Jackson's only loss is opening the season with a 35-27 loss to Saraland, Class 6A Saraland. So that tells you how good Jackson is. The losses for Bibb County come to Gordo, and that's a 1-point ball game, 36-35. Gordo plays 5 in the Class 3A playoffs Friday night. Fairfield beat them 30-28, and Pleasant Grove beat them 35-14. These two teams, Bibb County opened up the playoffs with a 49-14 victory over Ock, and Bullitt County stood no chance against Jackson, 55-0. The Aggies beat Bullitt County. Jackson comes in averaging 44.5 points a game and only giving up 13.1. The Choctaws offense of Bibb County averaging 33.6. They've met 2 times on the field before. Jackson has won both of those. So by the numbers real quick, 8-3 Bibb County on the year. Jackson 10-1, 33.6 points a game for Bibb County, 44.5 for Jackson. 13.1 given up by Jackson, average 18 given up on average by Bibb County. Both of these teams played a tough schedule. 62-53 opponents record for Bibb County. Opponents record for Jackson 63-52. This is bound to be a really good ball game. Bibb County is always a team that shocks people in the playoffs. Went to Bibb County, got shocked another time. So when you talk about Bibb County, WS Neal, when y'all gave me 4A, y'all were just trying to make me relive some nightmares. Tallahassee, got to be the turnaround of the year when you talk about the Tallahassee Tigers and the job that they've been able to do this year. They beat Mobile Christian 21-14 in the opening round of the playoffs. Ashford beat Oak Grove 35-20. Ashford comes in the ballgame 6-5. With 6-4 at the end of the regular season, the Tigers of Tallahassee come in at 8-2. Tallahassee is averaging 28 points a ball game. The Yellow Jackets of Ashford are averaging 25 points a ball game. By the numbers, these two teams, like I said, Ashford 6-5, second round of the playoffs. It don't matter what you do in the regular season if you can get it going at the right time. Tallahassee 8-2. Both teams have scored 280 points on the season. Tallahassee played one less ball game, so their average is 28 to Ashford's 25. Ashford has gave up 200 total points on the season for an 18.2 average. Tallahassee's given up 165 for a 16.5 average. Look at these opponents' records. 57 and 57 for Ashford. Opponent's record for Tallahassee, 45 and 59. Could that be the tail of the tape for this ball game in the second round of the South 4A playoffs? That does it for my 4 games. I'm going to turn it over to you, Bo.
All right, 5A South. We're going to start in 5A South right here. Interesting matchups this week. Two teams that's no stranger to the playoffs. You're looking at Andalusia versus UMS Wright. These two teams have not got the best record, so to speak, but don't let that fool you one bit. Andalusia on the season is 7-4. UMS Wright is actually 5-6. UMS Wright is actually favored in this football game, though. Terry Curtis, who widely considered one of the greatest coaches, definitely probably on their Mount Rushmore of coaches in the state, 8 state championships, has created an absolute juggernaut down there at UMS Wright. But now they're up in 5A. But let me throw this little stat right here out at you. The Bulldogs have made the playoffs 37 times. Listen to their overall playoff record. 93-27 all time is UMS Wright in the playoffs.
What are they at home in the second round?
17-3. That's incredible.
That's incredible.
That's almost
Think
the most
about
incredible stat other than their opponent's record.
UMS Wright and Andalusia. Now, Andalusia is a blue blood. They're a powerhouse. But listen to this. UMS Wright and Andalusia have met 20 times on the field. UMS Wright holds a 18-2 edge all time versus Andalusia. Now, UMS is going to have to figure out a way to score some points. Now, last week they beat Demopolis 21-7, but on the season, UMS is only averaging 18.3 points per game. They've got to figure that out if they're going to go deep in these playoffs.
The good thing for them is Andalusia's only averaging 20.6.
That's correct.
And UMS Wright's played better defense. But you are exactly right. They're going to have to score some points. Offense is going to have to figure out some. But when you talk about their opponent's record,
that is incredible.
73 and 43, that's why they struggled coming into the playoffs.
You tell me that's not incredible.
That's incredible to play that schedule.
Their opponent's overall record, as he just said, is 73 and 43.
Absolutely crazy.
Unbelievable. All right, so check this out. Next game is going to be Viger versus Eufaula. Viger, by all intents and purposes, is heavily favored in this one right here. As well, they should be. On the season, they're 10-1. Their only loss was to 7A Baker, and that loss was by 1 point. Now, they're averaging 52 points per game. Okay, are you ready for this? You ready for this?
I'm ready.
No, I'm sorry. They're averaging 36.2 points per game offensively. Guess what they're allowing defensively, Beckett?
Let's hear it.
I'll let you read that little tidbit
Oh my
out.
gosh, 4.7 at that.
They're giving out They're giving up 4.7 points per game, and it's not like they're playing the Sisters of Mercy. They've played Blunt. They've played Citronelle. They've played UMS Wright. They've played LaFleur. I'm just naming these teams. None of them scored over 14 points of them. They haven't had over 14 points scored on them all season. And the most that they've had scored on them is UMS Wright, who had 14.
You know why?
Including 7A Baker, who had 10.
You know why Viger's got their swag back?
Why is that?
Because they got Coach John McKenzie back. He was there the last time they won a state championship. He went off, and he was at Murphy for a few years. He coached one of my good buddies, J.B. Ripley, and Rip is a great dude. He thought the world of him, thought he was a great football coach.
You know, that's been a minute since he was there before.
Yeah. Told me before the season that McKenzie was going to go back and that they were absolutely loaded. I'm telling you, nobody's talking about Viger, but they got a chance to win.
They got a serious chance to win. Carlos Benjamin has rushed the ball 107 times for them, 831 yards on the season, 7.8 yards per touch. Demetrius Johnson is another guy, and this two-headed monster of a backfield they have, who's rushed the ball 106 times for 629 yards and 7 touchdowns. Next game, guys, I don't know how serious I can say this. If you're from the Citronelle Radio Network, I believe is who did this, do not poke the bear with Catholic Montgomery. You heard it here first. Do not tag their football program in any kind of trash talking. If you don't know anything about Catholic Montgomery, you do not take a shot at them publicly. They don't need no more motivation. I was on the phone with Juice Johnson.
Don't need no more juice?
Juice don't need any more juice. You just go in there and play the woe with me, we're just happy to be there role. Citronelle, I'm telling you that before we even start this breakdown. Do not poke the bear that is Catholic Montgomery. All right, we're going to get into these numbers. It's already a 30 point line in the game, okay? That line just moved up because of the poking of the bear. Catholic Montgomery was told by many people, including sports writers across this state, they could not compete in 5A. They were not built for it. It was not going to happen. Well, let's see if these numbers right here compute to what the quote-unquote experts have said all year. They're scoring 48 points per game, and they're allowing 6.2 points per game. To me, it looks like it translated pretty terribly. Beckett, they played Hopeville last week, and they beat them 52-0 to tune up for this game. Citronelle, on the other hand, they've got a good football team. That's what I'm saying. You quietly need to go into this game, mind your own business, don't talk trash. They're 9-2 on the season. They play pretty good football over there. They're averaging 25.5 points per game offensively. They're giving up 15 points per game defensively.
They've only lost to Williamson and Viger. Williamson was a close ball game.
Yep, Williamson was a close ball game. The Viger game wasn't awful. It was 32-6, but you were in the game. The Williamson game, you definitely was in the game. It was 28-26. Please, Citronelle, just for all intents and purposes, moving forward, don't ever do what you've done because you've poked the wrong bear. Just throwing that out there. Next game, we just talked about Williamson. Williamson will be taking on Coach Danny Horn, the all-time winningest coach in the state of Alabama's history. Coach Danny Horn, with 8 state championships, has won more football games than any other coach who's ever stepped foot on a high school football field in the state of Alabama. This is an interesting game. Williamson coming from that very tough region down there with UMS Wright and Viger and those guys. On the season, Williamson's 10-1. Their only loss was to Viger, and that was a very close football game, 19-2. Central Clay County rolling right along. They are undefeated on the season. They're sitting here at 11-0. They're averaging 40.5 points per game. They're only allowing 10.6 points per game. To put in perspective how good this Central Clay County team is, they've played some teams in and around this area up here that we're all accustomed to. One of those being Scottsboro. They won that football game 35-21. They played Pell City. We've seen what Pell City did last week versus Fort Payne. And the week before when they played Southside, they won going away in that game. It was a very good football game for Pell City. But Central Clay beat them 41-17. Last week they beat Greenville 49-0. This one right here is in Volunteer Stadium. It's going to be a very, very tall task, in my opinion, for them, for Williamson to make that trip up to Clay County and win this football game. Danny Horn and company is an 11-point favorite in that game. Over to you, Becky.
It's at home.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, let's go. Hey, let's talk a little bit about 3A. 3A. Okay, preseason. Some of the favorites coming in. 5, they came up from 2A. Locust Fort, Dino, they were in odds on. People were looking at him putting up a ton of points prior to his injury. Sylvania coming off a really good year. Gordo, the perennial power, been there year in, year out. T.R. Miller, were they ready to, they've made several runs. Were they ready to take that next step? Houston Academy and Lee Scott was kind of an interesting thing to see them go public. Scoring averages are really interesting to me. Thomasville 49.8, 545.9, Mars Hill 45.1, Houston Academy 44.3, Piedmont 44.2. All these are in it. Geraldine 44 a game, Gordo 43.9, Glenwood 43.2, Ohatchee 42.9, and T.R. Miller 42.3. jump straight into the thing with Mars Hill and Geraldine playing at Geraldine. When you talk about Geraldine, you talk about last week, first round against Local Sport. They scored 60. John Beck Wade and Jordan Langford accounted for over 300 yards rushing. This team seems to be getting better and better and better. Mars Hill, though, we're talking perennial power here. Hudson Higgins at wide receiver, and Jackson Penn, quarterback, really top notch. They're coming off a 69-point performance against Midfield last week. Only loss this year for Mars Hill. They go up in class and they play Scottsboro, and it went down to the very end. Scottsboro won 22-21. So no ducking or no dodging if you're Mars Hill, and plus people are not going to play them. Mars Hill averages 45.1 a game. Geraldine averages 44 a game. Mars Hill's only giving up 12.5 a game, and Geraldine's giving up 17.6. Pretty sporty matchup, if you ask me. Second round, Mars Hill, sixth time to be there. They're 4-2. Geraldine in second round games, 4-2. Pretty good matchup. Geraldine, 18th consecutive season that they have been in the playoffs. So, and then the line on that game is Mars Hill is a 7-point favorite on the road. All right, let's go over to the next game. Rematch from last year where Sylvania beat Winfield. Here we are with Sylvania. This time goes to Winfield. Sylvania, Aiden Parham, that's where you start. Last week, 29 carries, 154 yards, a touchdown. Then there was Travis Owens, who also had 14 carries for 110 yards. So you had the two-headed monster. Both of them go over 100 yards. Turner had completed 4 passes for 21 yards. So then you got with Winfield, Brady May. He's accounted all-purpose yards, 1,333 yards on the season. He's 96 for 134 for 1,162 yards passing and 17 touchdowns, 71.6 percentage. And they're you have to classify them. They're a running team, so those are really balanced numbers for Winfield. Sylvania last week won 27-9 against Weaver. They're 9-2. Coach David McKinney over at Winfield, good buddy of mine. He's got a really good attack. Kyson Keys got 63 tackles, inside linebacker. Rushing, he's got about 4 receivers that's at the 500-yard mark. Keelan Hughes, 846. Declan Morgan, 544. Receiving, Sean Wiles, 24 catches. Garrett Beasley, 33 catches, 576 yards. And Hayden Bullard, 12 catches, 108 yards. All right, let's compare the numbers. Sylvania, 35.2 points a game. Winfield, 36.8. Defensively, Sylvania gives up 13.5 a game. Winfield, 12.5. Very similar there. Opponents' records, Sylvania 60-55, and then Winfield's 58-58. Winfield is 5-1 at home, where they will be playing. Sylvania's 4-1 on the road. Very similar. Sylvania's 5-5 all-time second-round games. Winfield is 6-11, and guess what? They've met twice, and it was a split. So look for a really good football game. Here's Juggernaut. You talk about it, two powers meeting. Here we go. We got Gordo and Fife. Now, Anderson's hurt, so some guys have got to step up. Next man up, and massive career. You got to hang that jersey somewhere. But as far as this week against Gordo, he's on the side cheering and leading. And Simon Hicks, Ryder Gibbs will step up in his place. That's not shoes to step into; those are skis. That is some big shoes to replace. But they're really physical up front. We'll see what Fife can do and how they can hang on. And I think they met a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken. But all right, so. Gordo defeated Rogers 41-13. All right, and Fife, even with Anderson hurt, scored 66 points against Ohatchee, win 66-30. Gordo's 10-1, Fife's 8-2. both average over 40 points a game, and both have, Gordo is 15.3 giving up a game, and then 14.8. So should be a heck of a matchup.
I know football's a team sport, but that's a tough loss.
That's a tough loss, and everybody knows he's good. It does help to play it at Paul Benefield Stadium. They're at 5, it is very tough. All right, moving on to the. Let's talk about the Field of Champions over at Piedmont. The Bulldogs. They played Lauderdale County several times in the last couple years, and here they are again. Piedmont is a slim 3-point favorite. Raleigh Pinto in the game of Piedmont. They're coming off a 46-28. They pulled away in the second half against Collinsville and took care of business. They're coming in a perfect 11-0, 6-0 at home, averaging 44.2 points per game, only giving up 18.2. Here's Lauderdale coming in. They've only given up 12.6, but now they scored 36.1 with a 8-3 record. They have they've shut out several opponents, and let's see. You don't know how regions compare, how strong this area is, and that area. But it has been Piedmont's taking care of business thus far. In the season. Head-to-head matchup, Lauderdale won in 23, 35-30, but Piedmont won the 2 games before that in 21 and 19. All 3 were second-round games, so they have they've all been in this position before. There is your 3A North.
Well, let's take a quick break, and we're going to be back with our final breakdowns.
Good afternoon, I'm Dr. Olobidi. I would like to welcome you to our clinic, which is virtually your clinic. We strive to provide a family environment from our nurses as well as the practitioners we have in the clinic to serve you and your family members. We pride ourselves for having state-of-the-art facility here in the clinic to include ultrasound, fibroscan to check on your liver. We welcome you in our clinic, your clinic at Dr. Olobidi's. And thank you so very much.
Hey guys, I'm Cameron Minton with Minton Home Center. Minton Home Center has been in business for over 40 years. We are a family-owned and operated manufactured home dealership. We offer affordable housing for our customers as well as a multitude of different financing options to help our customers get into a new home. When you come to Minton Home Center and you start looking around our lot, the first thing you will notice is that we have the most competitive prices in the industry.
Hi everybody, I'm Eli Gold, and I want to invite you to tune in to Jack State Live, a look at the campus and athletic department at Jack State, followed by the Coach Rich Rod Show, where we will break down and preview the next football game for the Gamecocks.
At DVP Auto Group, we have a wide selection of any type of car you could want. We offer financing for all types of credit. Not only can we help you to purchase a car affordably, but we can help you with any issues you may experience with your car as well. We provide oil change, tire repair, brake service, or anything else you may need. We also gladly accept trade-ins, and if you're willing, we can help you drive away in a new car the same day. If you don't see something you like in the lot, we'll help you find one, whether you buy from us or not. Come see us today.
The Point at JSU is an off-campus student housing property located a half a mile away from Jacksonville State University. The Point offers fully furnished, pet-friendly, 2 bedrooms and 4 bedroom units. Resident experience is our #1 priority, therefore we do offer the following amenities: a resort-style pool, fitness center, basketball and volleyball court, and dog park. We would love for you to come see our property, so give us a call at 256-376-8317 to schedule a tour today.
We are back with our final playoff breakdowns here of the evening, and we're going to kick it over here to Mr. Chandler Tyree.
First thing, 4A North, starting out with a really, really good matchup between Central Florence and Cherokee County. This will be at Cherokee County. anytime you get to host a game. But we're talking about a 9-2 Central Florence team that only has 2 losses, one to Deschler 21-14 and one to West Morgan 52-26. And then we're talking about a Cherokee County team that's only got 1 loss to a undefeated Piedmont 34-27. In the first round, they took care of Westminster Christian 48-13, and Central Florence took care of Hamilton by a score of 70-13. This is a Central Florence offense that's averaging 40 points a game, but you got to look at Cherokee County averaging 37 points a game, only giving up 10.4. And so when you look at that opponent's record, both teams have played opponents with winning records, 63-53 for Central Florence, their opponent's record, 59-56 for Cherokee County. Cherokee County did go on the road and get a big win over Shades Valley, where they did not run the football one time. And then they ran the table in that tough 4A Region 6, who went 3-1 last week in the first round of the playoffs. We know how good Cherokee County is, but they're only a 2-point favorite here in the second round against Central Florence at home. I can guarantee you that will be plastered, especially with what Cherokee County's been able to do and the success they've had in 4A, and especially in the North, where they're the 2A. Where they're the 2-time defending 4A North champions and represented the 4A North in the state championship game. So that's going to be a really good. You talk about Tristan Brown. You talk about all the weapons that they have there. But I've been seeing some videos of Tristan Brown. I think he's kind of the unsung hero. We know how good he is defensively. But have y'all watched the videos of him running the football?
Yeah,
he is an absolute animal trying to run the football. I think the one clip that I saw, the whole entire team was trying to tackle him. So he is tough to bring down. They play a physical, imposing style against you. You get hit in the mouth all night long, and the question is, do you want to continue to get back up and get hit in the mouth? We'll see how that works out for them in the second round. But anytime you go against Cherokee County or you only give them a slight favorite, they're going to take that very seriously.
They impose their will on you. A lot of weapons, like you said, so many backs, and and possessions mean so much against them, because you better get some stops and get off the field, because they're going to score a lot of points.
Yeah, and defensively they're suffocating.
I get to go sit in with him tomorrow, so I'm interested to see what he says.
Interesting fact, their classmate of mine, Dwayne Keener, or he was one grade above me, Cherokee County grad, went up and played college ball up in the Florence area and never came back. And he's the principal of Central Florence, so he'll get to come back home.
I am very intrigued by this matchup. Alexandria will go to Brooks. They are a 17-point dog. Elijah Hunter has been a guy for Alexandria all year long. Think about the turnaround, Alexandria. Now, I think a lot of people have forgotten they were 1-9 a year ago. 1-9. All right, and now they are going into this ball game. They are 8-3 in the second round of the playoffs. Just beat region champion North Jackson by a score of 38-35 on a field goal by Cleet Forrest to win that football game. But they've got a really tough opponent. They've got an opponent in Brooks who beat Dora 38-7 in the first round. Brooks is a team that has won 8 straight ball games now. They're averaging 37.2 points a game offensively, and this Valley Cubs offense, which we don't talk a lot about, is averaging 30.6 points a game. When you look at by the numbers in this matchup, Alexandria comes in at 8-3. Brooks comes in at 9-2. Alexandria has averaged 30.6 points a game. Brooks is averaging 37.2. Defensively, this is where Brooks has the advantage. They've only given up 16.1 points a game, whereas Alexandria's given up 26.2.
But us as coaches, sometimes we don't look at all 10, 11 games when we're scouting. Mm-hmm. We look at the last 4 or 5. And the last 4 or 5, Alexandria's pretty good football team.
When you look at the last 4 or 5, obviously they got beat by Cherokee County, but then they beat a much improved Etowah team. They beat Mumford, and then they beat North Jackson, who you saw North Jackson up close and personal. Really good defensive team. So for them to put up 38 against North Jackson and win that football game, if you'd have told me North Jackson was going to score 35, I would have told you it's been a good year for Alexandria.
Right. That's right.
So impressive there for them. Good Hope at Anniston. Listen to this, y'all. Anniston is playing a Good Hope team that has only lost 1 ball game all year. They're 10-1. Anniston is 6-5. Guess who's favored in this ball game? Anniston by 9. So Good Hope's definitely going to have that by 9.
Nice.
Damon Pope has been the difference for Anniston, in my opinion. Ever since he stepped in and kind of took that quarterback position, they've been a different team. He's an absolute playmaker. Jabari Williams at the running back position is a great player. But that Anniston defense I feel like is what's been really rolling at the end of the year. They have given up less than 14 in 5 of their last 6 ball games. So 14 or less in 5 of their last 6 ball games. That's impressive. That's including a game where they lost 14-0 to a really good Cherokee County team. So Anniston is a team. They beat Randolph last week by a score of 40-12 at Randolph. Last week, Good Hope beat Hatton by a score of 42-12. All time, Hatton is 2-5 on the road in the second round. Anniston is 6-1 all time in the second round at home. So that sets up pretty well for Coach Rico Jackson, the Anniston Bulldogs. Like I said, 6-5 record for Anniston. Good Hope 10-1. Anniston is averaging scoring 28.1 points a game. Good Hope's averaging 28.2 points a game. So pretty even there. Defensively, Good Hope giving up 11.4, Anniston giving up 17.2. Here's where the two teams really differ, and this might be the reason why Anniston is favored. Good Hope's opponents on the year, 51-63 combined record. Anniston's opponent, 64-52. So you look at that. Anniston's played a really tough schedule. Look at who they played. Beauregard. They played Pleasant Grove, Hoax Bluff, Alexandria, Cherokee County, a much improved Etowah team, and Jacksonville, a 5A playoff team. So when you look at that, Anniston definitely has the tougher schedule there. But Good Hope's only lost 1 game, and that's to 5A Fairview, 48-21. 5A Fairview that's still in the playoffs and could make a run. So that's a really good matchup there. And then lastly for me, wrapping up Class 4A, West Morgan and Madison Academy. Nobody really expected Madison Academy to be here at this point. I didn't expect them to go in and beat Hoax Bluff the way they did, but they did, beating Hoax Bluff 28-7 last week in the first round of the playoffs. West Morgan took care of business against Fayette County, though, 45-0. These two teams have a common opponent, and it's Randolph. Madison Academy lost to Randolph 32-31. West Morgan beat Randolph 31-0, and I think these two teams also, did they match up? No, they did not. But these two teams, it's going to be a tough go for Madison Academy. They're used to being in the playoffs. They have a playoff record of 45-26. They're 9-5 at home all time in the second round, and West Morgan is 1-5 all time in the second round on the road. So that is something that don't work out good. But when you look at the numbers, 11-0 for West Morgan, 2 years in a row where they've been really, really stinking good. Last year they pushed Cherokee County to the limit in the playoffs. Madison Academy 7-4 on the season. West Morgan is averaging 46.3 points a game. Madison Academy only 30. West Morgan also only giving up 10.5 a game, whereas Madison Academy's giving up 14.4. So two really good defenses. Opponents record 53-62 for West Morgan, 58-58 for Madison Academy. Should be a really good ball game. West Morgan is a team that's very dangerous in 4A North this year. I look for them to continue to be dangerous and probably get the job done this week. So moving on to you, Bo.
All right, 5A North. Let's knock this out right here. 5A North, we're going to start out with Coach Jake Gaines and company and Moody. Moody took care of business last week versus a very tough Arab team, 49-7. They're going to be taking on Winona. This game is going to be at Winona at Bell Culpeper Stadium. Winona on the season is 8-3. They're scoring 24.3 points per game. They're allowing 14 points per game. Jake Gaines and company scoring 38.1 points per game. They're allowing 13.3 points per game. But I will tell you this: if you look at who Moody's played, they've played Gainesville, they've played Oxford. They were going to play Auburn, but that game got canceled. You know, then they've played, obviously, in region play, Center Point, Leeds, St. Clair County. They've played Helena in a non-region or a game there. So they're very battle tested, and I will go as far as to say this: they might have the best front seven 1 through 7A in the state of Alabama. They're in the conversation. Their linebacker play is excellent. I believe they got 3 or 4 D1 guys up front. We watched them play live and in person right over here against Oxford, and Oxford had their hands full that night. They did pull out the win, 24-21, but it was an absolute war. Winona will have their hands full with them, and they're 23-point underdog playing Moody. Next game is going to be a game that a lot of people in our area is going to have circled. We're talking about the Ramsey Rams and Coach Jackson. They are going to be going to Scottsboro, Alabama to take on Coach Van and company in Scottsboro. You know, this Scottsboro team, they just find a way to win football games. They also have been very impressive to me about how they've gotten better each and every week throughout this football season. Coach Van's done an outstanding job, and I think he's the first one to tell you they're going to go as their defense goes. And they're super young on the back end of their defense, but those guys have gotten better each and every week. Beckett, you know this as a coach. Coach Tyree, you know this as a coach. Each and every week that you play in these playoffs is another week of practice. That's just like having a spring, another week of spring, another week of spring. So these reps that these players are getting are invaluable for Scottsboro right now.
I don't think that they care about that right now, though. They're trying to win and keep moving on.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But it does equate down the
down the road.
Because they're playing some young guys.
Yeah.
People don't realize that.
Yeah, they're playing some young guys, and they're getting to work out more, and they're getting the reps. It's huge for the program for them to keep winning.
What about the game that Edmonton had last week, though?
Oh, he had 4 touchdowns. You know, Edmonton had 202 yards, 4 touchdowns. They had 360 yards overall on the ground, and Jake Jones had 117 of those. Jacoby Edmondson hitting at the right time, obviously. But again, when you look at who they're taking on this week, they're taking on a Ramsey team that I don't know what it is. They look like Ramsey, but they don't look like Ramsey. Coach Jackson said it best. When we went down there to watch them live, who was with me? Was it you?
No,
Who was
I was
with me?
talking to you, though.
Oh, my friend Scott went with me down there. We went down there and watched them live against Carver, and he just said we're super young offensively. Outside of Keenum, the quarterback, they're super, super young. They sputter at times. Scottsboro's got a very stingy defense. You know, they're only allowing, they are allowing 20 points per game, but you got to look who they've played. They played Fort Payne. They played North Jackson. They've played Central Clay, and they've played Morris Hill, and they're not. And then they're in this 5A region up here that's loaded to the gills with Gunnersville, who was ranked all season, Arab, and Boaz, who's still playing football. So you're talking about a very tough team and a very, very tough non-region as well. So yeah, they're giving up 20 points per game, but they've gotten better each and every week. Ramsey is a 6-point favorite in this game, I think due to the respect of what they've done the last couple of years, winning the state year before last, playing for it last year.
And they've gotten better.
That'll be an absolutely.
Ramsey's gotten better, but that's going to be a great ball game.
Here's a stat before I get out of this game. I do want to tell you this. All right. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. In the last 6 games combined, Ramsey's given up a total of 8 points.
Pretty good.
1 point, 2 points per game. And in that stretch, they have 5 shutouts. So that's something to keep your eye on. So Jacoby Edmondson, Jake Jones, and company are going to have to break some kind of trend there if they want to win that football game. But a key factor, Scottsboro's offensive line is very, very good and physical, and they're going to have to create some of those holes for these guys to run.
No doubt about it.
Next game, sat in with Coach today. We're talking about the Boaz Pirates. They're taking on Corner. Listen, I got to go to Boaz last weekend. What a phenomenal atmosphere they had. Coach Sully and company does a fantastic job there, from the LED lights to the turf, to the uniforms, to the cannons that fire, the flags that's flying. Unbelievable atmosphere. Took on Center Point last week, got a big win, 29-8. Doing a fantastic job this year. Boaz now 9-2 on the season. They're averaging almost 40 points a game. It's 39.3. They're allowing 20.7. When you flip the thing over and look at Corner, you know, Corner is 10-1 on the season, and their only loss was to Briarwood, and that was 31-6. Corner's averaging 30 points per game. They're allowing 21 points per game. You know, their opponent's record was 60-54, so they are battle tested. They're hosting this game, but something tells me Sully and them's got something to say about it. Tyler Pierce is starting to come alive with his legs now. He had two TDs passing last week. He also had a rushing TD. Tristan Childress, 201 yards on the ground, very tough physical yards. Boaz in the second half of that game last week versus Center Point imposed their will.
Yeah, that game was 8-7 at halftime.
That's right.
Correct?
And they're going to look to impose their will again. You know that they're going to want to run the football. My last game is the North 5A breakdown is going to be Leeds versus Fairview. Fairview on the season now is 10-0. They played a common opponent from our area of the Woods. They played the Sardis Lions this year. B.J. Brooks and them fought their guts out and ended up losing 38-18. But to just give you, somebody around our area here that has played this Fairview team, that's somebody you'd like to look at right there. Leeds on the season is 9-2. Their two losses is coming, one to Briarwood, one to Moody. So, that's a rivalry game there. Leeds, it's this simple. Connor Nelson. It's Connor Nelson or bust. Keith Etheridge's nephew, who plays quarterback for him, also plays defense for him a little bit. But offensively last week, he threw for 153. He rushed for 186. He had 4 touchdowns in the game. He does it each and every week. And they're going to need him big in this game right here versus this undefeated Fairview team. Last week, they beat Carver Birmingham, who I got to see live in person earlier this year, 15-12. That's going to do it for our 5A North breakdown. Mr. Beckett.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about 3A South. People always talk about the speed, athleticism that comes out of the 3A South. And let's start with Houston Academy in Thomasville. Thomasville, you're talking about an 11-0 powerhouse, a lot of trips to be at this point. They struggled first round though. Now, number 1 versus 4, they beat Excel 34-30. So it was the skin of their teeth. They got out. Diego Bryant averages 151.6 yards a game. Charlie Hill, defensively inside linebacker, leads them tackling. They average 49.8 points a game. Only give 7.8. Points per game. So the Excel thing was only the third time somebody had scored in double digits. They've shut out 4 opponents. So when we're talking about Houston Academy, down in Dothan, Gabe Glover's their offensive weapon that makes things happen for them. They are 10-1. They score 44.3 points a game and only give up 10.8. First time these two teams have ever met. And both are region champions. Moving on, T.R. Miller, one of my favorites in 3A coming into the season. They're playing Trinity, who's had a lot of success, won some state titles, kind of been back and forth from 3A to 4A. Brent Hubbard from T.R. Miller, the coach, he was at Maplesville, won 3 state championships, moves up to T.R. Miller. He's made several runs. He's knocked out on that door. Here he is, 11-0. This may be his chance for his first title at the 3A level. They are scoring 42.3 points a game, only giving up 8.1. They are power rankings. They are the number 1 team in the state. Now, Trinity, 8-3, 33.9 points per game, 14.5 defensively, and they're coming off a 65-42 playoff win against Randolph County. And Randolph County has had a pretty good.
And I think that 42, a lot of that was scored a lot late.
Might have been some chump change at the end of the game. T.R. Miller has been in the second round 36 times. They're 24-12, 7 straight playoff appearances. Same thing for Trinity, 7 straight, and they have been in 20 second round playoff appearances, and they are 12-8. You look at a little bit at the who they're playing. T.R. Miller's non-region has been. They played Reeltown and Strawn and Monroe and Flomaton and some really good athletic teams down there. Bayside, who we see, who's pretty doggone good coming out of Mobile. All right, moving on. Speaking of Bayside, here they are. Bayside Academy plays at Alabama Christian, 2 private schools that are pretty strong. Bayside has been in the state championship game in recent years. they're coming off Bayside's coming off a 36-6 win against Hale County. Where Alabama Christian's coming off a 46-42 win against Glenwood. Glenwood moved out of the AISA and moved into public schools and advanced into the playoffs. So you got an 8-3 Bayside, 7-4 Alabama Christian. Here Bayside only averages 19.1 points per game.
Wow.
12.7 defensively.
That was a huge win to beat Glenwood School. They've been rolling.
Yeah, and so. You know, an Alabama Christian is averaging 37.6 and 31. That's an anomaly to have a team that's only averaging 19 points per game. And as you look at the, Alabama Christian is a 4-point favorite in that game. T.R. Miller is a 13-point favorite against Trinity, and Thomasville is a 2-point favorite against Houston Academy. All right, final game, 3A South. South side of Selma, been hearing about them all year. They're playing Montgomery Academy. Pick 'em 0, and they're coming off of a 36-35 win against Hillcrest. Montgomery Academy beat Dadeville 26-19. These two teams have met on the field 6 times. Montgomery Academy is 6-0. It's 6-0 versus South side of Selma. So. There is your 3A South. T.R. Miller's number 1, 5-2. In the Power Post, Houston Academy 3, all alive. Thomasville 4, Mars Hill 5. And there's Winfield, number 6. Sylvania will get to see them.
Mars Hill's going to be tough in 3A.
Yeah, they're going to be tough.
For them to be 5th in the Power Post, it's just wild.
Yeah, and there's Piedmont, 11-0, number 7, Lauderdale County. There's a 7 versus 8, Gordo's 9th, and Trinity's 10th.
Yeah, 3A's loaded.
3A's loaded.
How much time we got? We've got about 7 minutes. Chandler, give me some takeaways.
Excited about some matchups across the state. I think the two matchups that the two that I had in 4A and 6A. I'm really intrigued by Pleasant Grove and St. Michael. I think that's got a matchup that could put up a lot of points. Really intrigued by that Cherokee County Central Florence game. And can the Magic keep going for Alexandria against Brooks? And can Anniston coming into the playoffs at 5-5? Can they or 5-4? Can they finish Can they keep having a magical run too with a win against Good Hope in front of their home crowd at home?
Here's something I want everybody to keep note of. Your 7A games. I want you to listen to these lines on these games. The Thompson Warriors are the biggest underdog in this week. They're a 7-point dog at Auburn.
Wow.
Baker is a 2-point favorite over Enterprise. Central Phoenix City is a 4-point favorite over Vestavia Hills, and Hoover is a 3-point favorite over Opelika. This is why they move those 7A games around. This is why right here.
In Class 6A, would you ever thought that Clay Chalkville would be the least favorite dog? I mean, the least favorite. They're only favored by 2.
Yeah,
that's
over
the
most
smallest
shows.
spread out of the whole entire 6A.
But it shows you, how competitive these playoffs are. Another thing of interest that I want to watch is the Ramsey traveling to Scottsboro. I think that is going to be a madhouse in Scottsboro this Friday night. That one, and then we've heard all year 2 things. One, Catholic Montgomery can't play in 5A. Citronelle has poked the bear. There's a 30-point line. Keep your eye on that game and that score. Also, Central Clay. This is the first one of those opponents from that Mobile region down there that they're going to cross with. We've heard all year, can they compete with that region? Well, we're about to find out. And then lastly, up here in our neck of the woods, right down the road from each other, and I think you said it best, the first game that I may be at this game, it's going to be Spring Garden hosting Berry. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a really good football game. And then you hit it best, is the Cherokee County Central Florence. And here's my question, and no disrespect when I say this, but I'm being serious. We see this about West Morgan and all these teams all the time until these crosses. Mm-hmm. And in the last couple of years, Cherokee's just handled them because they're more physical. Can the Central Florence team hold up on the road at Cherokee County is a very, very tough place to win a football
I think
game.
that's always the question. You look at Cherokee County. Can Central Florence handle the physicality? And that's a question. And I think you look back at 5A. Can Williamson handle the physicality of Central Clay County and the style that they play? If Central Clay County and Cherokee County, if they don't have to throw a single pass, they're excited. They want to be able to impose their will, run the football, and play really good defense. So that's the question for both of those games.
That's right. 100%. Coach?
My top games, Lynn, Appalachian. I'm just anxious to see Appalachian in the second round, see if they can keep this thing going against a really good Lynn team. Winfield, Sylvania. Winfield's a big favorite. And Piedmont, Lauderdale, fourth meeting between those two in the second round, all four of them. Mars Hill, the juggernaut that is Mars Hill, and then Geraldine. Geraldine's got it rolling, doing a lot of really good things. They're a year ahead of schedule, and, man, can they keep doing what they're doing. Auburn Thompson, that's just, how can you not, man? That is the monster game to me of all 7 classes.
Talk to me about Sylvania a little bit.
Well, you've got to be able to establish a run, and you really, I would think as in teams have tried to force the box, and Aiden Parham has just continued to
over and
do
under
his
20
thing.
carries for Aiden Parham.
It's gonna be over. You're looking at
over.
Yeah, it's gonna be 25 to 30. But it has Travis has been able to take some of that off of him where he hadn't had to get into the 30, 35 and that kind of thing. And you got to be able to throw the ball just a little bit because these teams are going to take away what you do best, and that's what we do as coaches. We sit down and go, hey, what do they do best? What's their top 5 plays? What's their top formations? We're going to take that away from you. We're going to make you left-handed. So, but you know what? What they don't talk about with Sylvania, defense has had a great year. And top 12 in the state in defense.
Chandler?
I'm intrigued by, we hadn't talked a lot about, but I am intrigued by that matchup with Sylvania. And 3A, man, 3A is just, you got Fife and Gordo, you got Piedmont and Lauderdale County. Like, 3A North is ridiculous. Like, their games could go either way. And like I said, you look at that and who's going to come out of it, who's going to compete, and then hey, next week, man, we're getting slim.
Yeah,
you win this week, you win this week, and you're in the top 8 in every. If you win this week in 7A, you're in the top 4. If you win this week in every other, you're in the top 8 of that class.
One more note: Aiden Norris of Berry against Spring Gardens defense. The kid 3,666 yards, 58 touchdowns versus 11 flat-out dogs.
Hey, I need you to be at that game because I need to hear all about it.
I think that's
why the line is what the line is.
That's right.
Is because of him.
And speaking of lines, they got some lines on defense, 11 of them, and they're coming.
Yeah.
How much time we got left?
We got about 15 seconds.
Thank you, Watkins Heating and Cooling. Thank you, Countertop Creations, as always. This has been a wonderful breakdown. Love being here with you guys. See you guys back next week, and we will be seeing you at some games this Friday. Thank you guys for watching.
Hey guys, I'm Cameron Minton with Minton Home Center. Minton Home Center is